The fourth line has been electric so far in this young season, and a big reason the Bruins had played with pace and life most periods. With Matthew Poitras coming back to the bottom six of the Boston Bruins, it rivals some of the best in the NHL now. They have skill, size, and brawn and will be a formidable foe for any team lining up against them. They have a huge test on Monday against the division rival, the Florida Panthers, and hope to wipe that smile off Matthew Tkachuk's face. So buckle up, Bruins fans. I'm here to give you the latest info on your beloved Boston Bruins. If you've been liking my Bruins content, please leave me a like and subscribe. If you've already done so, thank you, and let's get into it. The season may be young, but we're already seeing the emergence of a fourth line that looks like they've been playing together for years. The line consists of Mark Kastelic, a centerman that is tough on the draws, hard on the forecheck, not afraid to drive to the net, and won't be afraid to punch you in the face. John Beecher, who is the youngest on the line, but plays like a seasoned pro. Beecher is one of the best at the dot on the team and is playing wing on this line, giving them the added advantage of being able to switch who takes the draw based on the situation. Beecher shoots left while Kastelic shoots right, so depending on where the draw is, they have it covered. Beecher and Kastelic have been trusted to be out on the PK, showing their defensive prowess. Last and certainly not least is Cole Keopke, who wasn't on many Bruins fans' radar before this season, including mine. I barely talked about him in any preseason video and truly didn't think he'd make the team. He has quickly become a player I don't want out of the lineup. He rarely makes defensive mistakes and is strong in the corners, and at 6'1" is the shortest on the line, but already has 1 goal and 2 assists on the season. He's already matched his career point totals after being with the Lightning organization for the past couple years and only playing in 26 games for them. The line has a little bit of everything, but also towering out there and none bigger than Mark Kastelic. Kastelic is 6'4", 226 pounds, and surprisingly fast. I thought when the Bruins acquired him from Ottawa, he would be a throw-in because he was such a prototypical gamble the Bruins have done over the years. Big forward who can throw him and instantly will become a fan favorite over time. The Bruins have tried this experiment a couple times over the years, acquiring both Nick Ritchie and Brett Ritchie, with hopes that they could be a power forward in the lineup the team desperately needed since the departure of Milan Lucic. Finding a player that can chip in offensively and play a heavy game is like finding a diamond in the rough. These type of players don't grow on trees, and when teams find one, they hold on to them and rarely do they hit the trade market. I know the season is very young, and this is a very small sample size, but Kastelic could have been the player they coveted in the Allmark trade the whole time. Kastelic was selected 125th overall by the Ottawa Senators in the 2019 NHL entry draft. He played junior in the WHL for the Calgary Hitmen for 5 seasons. In 2018-19, he played 66 games, racking up 47 goals and 30 assists for 77 points. But he also had 122 penalty minutes that season as well. He spent a lot of time in the box that season, and one would think he would have gotten a lot more points if he didn't. The scouting report on him was he is strong, good skater, and not afraid to drop the mitts. He was destined to be a bottom 6 forward, which isn't a bad thing. Projected bottom 6 forwards aren't exactly drafted in the first couple of rounds purposely, but are so important to a hockey team. He has some hockey lineage as well, with his uncle, Mike Stapleton, had a successful NHL career playing for the NHL in 1986 to 2000, and recently promoted as the AGM of the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. The way Kastelic plays, he seemed to be destined to be a Boston Bruin. Like many of the Bruins acquisitions this offseason, many analysts have said he looks like a Bruin. Bottom 6 players play a huge role in any playoff run, and if the fourth line can stay consistent and healthy all season, they could be a formidable force for the Bruins in the playoffs. Once again, it's very early into the season, but the fourth line looked great in the preseason, and now has looked great in the first 3 games of the season. With some slow starts to 2 of the 3 games this year, they have been the only line that hasn't missed a beat. In 3 games this season, Kastelic had 2 goals, Keopke had 1 goal and 2 assists, and Beecher has 2 assists. Monty has been using them more often to start periods to breathe life into the team, and they've been helping swing momentum almost every game. They're all young as well, with Kastelic being 25, Beecher 23, and Keopke is 26. If these 3 can keep up this pace, the future looks bright in the bottom 6 for the Boston Bruins. Speaking of the bottom 6, Matthew Poitras is back in the lineup and instantly winning over fans and teammates. Before the start of the season, many Bruins analysts didn't even have Poitras penciled in to be a Boston Bruin this year. I think I saw more people say Lysell was going to make this team than he was. They looked at his size because he's 5'11", and was injured last season and thought maybe he isn't strong enough to make this team. He put in the work over the offseason because last season he weighed 176 pounds and now tipping the scales at 189. Pastrnak mentioned yesterday he was surprised a guy of his size could be so strong on the puck and tough to knock off the puck. When Poitras goes in the corners for the loose puck, he always seems to be the one coming out of the corner with it. Also, when did 5'11" be considered short? My dad played 11 years and was 5'5". Now that is short. If you want to give Poitras the short king title on the Bruins, be sure to be careful because the shortest on the team is current short king of the Boston Bruins and the captain, Brad Marchand, who is 5'9". Size shouldn't determine a player's skill or chances to make a hockey club. But when you look at the makeup of the Boston Bruins, I can see why some have had that bias. Drafted 54th overall by the Boston Bruins in the 2022 NHL entry draft, Poitras was probably 165 pounds soaking wet, but a huge upside. He got 95 points for the Guelph Storm of the OHL in 22-23, and you know the Bruins saw something in him because they didn't pick a college kid from the Boston area. The Bruins love their college hockey players, and especially ones that play in the Boston area or are from the Boston area. As someone who lives in Ontario region of Canada, it will never cease to not annoy me. Would love to be able to watch some Bruins prospects play locally. Poitras last season, before getting injured, played 33 games and scored 5 goals and got 10 assists for 15 points. He played up and down the lineup and was looking really to come into his own last season. Last season's knock on him is he wasn't strong enough on the puck and needed to shore up his north-south game. Poitras spent his offseason recovering from his injury, but also getting stronger and working on his game, and it shows. Before he got injured this preseason, we saw flashes of what we could expect from him this season as his zone entries were smooth, he was passing with purpose, and was beating defenders with his speed. I'm glad he learned to keep his head up and learned that lesson in the preseason, because from what I've seen from Poitras, his development, he rarely makes the same mistake twice. Could he be injury prone? I think it's far too early to tell that in his career, and it could be true. I'm not saying he's Bergeron, but by any means, but Bergeron fell into injury trouble early in his career, and he turned out fine. If Poitras can keep up his consistent play and be the line driver like he can be, then Monty is going to be putting him in a lot more situations to succeed, which in turn will help his development. The fact that Monty said after the game against LA that it was the best game he has ever seen Poitras play in his career is a huge compliment. A lot is always said about coaches in Boston, that they don't play the kids, but I don't believe it. If the kid is good enough to play in the Boston Bruins system, they will play. The current average age of the 24-25 Boston Bruins is 26, which doesn't scream veteran-loaded team. The average height, though, is 6'3", which screams this team is huge, which will help guys like Poitras. He knows he can step on the ice each night and play his skill game and be backed up from his teammates if players want to take a run at him. Poitras isn't afraid to get in the corners at all. I haven't seen him shy away once, which shows how smart he is as a player. Is Poitras going to lead the Bruins in scoring this year? Not a chance, but I think we'll see him more and more get a chance to play with guys like Pastrnak and Marchand when the situation presents itself to play with higher skilled players. Frederic might have not have scored against LA, but Poitras allowed him to get some good looks and Brazeau showed no issues, keeping up with the pace of Poitras. Poitras did the heavy lifting on getting the puck over the blue line, but Brazeau and Frederic can do the heavy lifting in the corners and in front of the net. It will provide Poitras more space to be creative and his skills to create chances for his line mates. I looked at the bottom 6 for the Boston Bruins, and I don't see how any guys in Providence right now can crack this part of the Bruins lineup. The second line right wing, well, that's a different story for another video. That's a wrap on today's video. To stay up to date on all the news surrounding the Boston Bruins, please subscribe and drop me a like. If news breaks surrounding the Boston Bruins, be sure to check out the channel. If you've already subscribed to the channel, thank you, and I'll see you next time.